Sorry about that. Clearly, I'm such an amateur when shooting these videos. So we're talking about inspections, and I was just telling you how to make sure that your home smells nice, because the ambience you create is everything. And you always want to have a good ambience, because the first thing that anyone experiences when they walk through your door is the smell. So just make sure the house smells nice, because there's an awkward silence when they're sitting and reading your policies and procedures. You want to make sure that like there's nice jazz music. Now for you as the administrator, or if you had a consultant that's helping you do the inspection, you want to set your own space up, meaning you have your laptop and you have your printer. And what you want to do is, as the inspection goes on, you want to make sure that, what do you want to make sure? That you're there, you're listening. If she looks at, let's say, a personnel file, or she looks at a personnel file and is like, you're missing your TB test, you want to be able with immediacy to find that TB test and give it to them, because there's usually a 2-hour timeline. Some inspectors say from the time they come in, when you sign the document that they have arrived and you've been notified as the administrator, now they're sending the notifications digitally. Or some say you could send them the information within 2 hours after they exit your facility. So you have to confirm with your inspector, because in my opinion, that keeps changing. So I don't know what the accurate instruction is with the 2 hours. So for your behavioral health group home, you're going to follow your behavioral health checklist. I've included the link to the State of Arizona's department checklist to the behavioral health residential initial checklist, and it's very comprehensive. Let me see, what was my first page here? It has a lot of things. So the first thing that I did is, on the second page where it says administration, I numbered all of my key points, because I wanted to cross-check my policies and procedures against the key points, because the administration was my key role. So that's a good way of doing it as well, because I was just mentioning that you need to do your own audit, you need to do your own inspection before they arrive. So the inspection checklist will talk about your environmental standards. What is to be remembered there is all of your bathrooms need to have paper towels. And they also need, if you have 2 double sinks, you have to have soap for each of the sinks. So make sure you have that going. You need to have shutterproof mirrors. I'm just going off the top of the list. Obviously, it's more comprehensive, but I'm just saying the key things that I remembered. Make sure all of your light bulbs are working. There's also that evacuation map that you have to have, by all of your exits. So make sure that's there. Sample menu. Now, the funny part is, when I created my home, nobody had told me that we needed a menu. And I can see it highlighted here, 6 years ago. Obviously, I didn't remember that. So she came in and she was like, oh, where's the menu? And I was like, what menu? And I didn't even know that you're supposed to hire a registered dietitian. You sign, that consultation contract with them, and the registered dietitian creates for you a menu, because every week in a group home, a day before the menu starts, you're supposed to conspicuously post your menu. So find a registered dietitian. You could create your own menu and then have them stamp it, seal it, sign it off. And then you always make sure, of course, in your personnel file or your contractor's file, that you have put in all the documents there with the original seal, stamp, whatever they call it, from your registered dietitian. So, maps, your signs, your exit signs. In my time, we didn't have the wired evacuation sign, that old thing with the 2 eyes. Hold on, let me get it. So you see what I'm talking about. 1 minute, I'm coming. This one. So you have to wire this one in, because if the lights go off, this turns on its own. Please make sure you don't put it upside down. There's a up way and there's a down way, because there's a light here that shows. So now you have to have this light that has to be wired in, maybe on your corridor, so it can light both sides. So if you have a blackout, which I've never experienced because it's America, but that should be there. Then what else? Of course, your toilets are working, your ventilation is good. Oh, Your bathrooms have to have the non-slip mat. Some people debate this with the inspectors. It is here in the checklist. You go to Ross, you go to Marshall's, you buy those non-slip mats and you put it in. Even if it's an assisted living facility and it's non-slip tiles, the regulation says you have to have a non-slip mat. This is, I mean, I've helped a friend with an inspection and I had to run to Walmart in the sweltering heat and buy those non-slip mats. Whenever you're doing your inspection, don't over debate the inspector. Just say, what else do you need? Run out, get it. You know, have your accomplice, your person standing by. So one person by the computer who's creating, let's say, missing policies. This is why you need to know AI, because you can create missing policies very quickly and submit them on time. Or you have somebody who's able to do the running around in the stores if you need something. 3 days ago, my friend had her annual inspection and she did not have a first aid kit. And the two books, the PDR, you know, the one that checks the drug reference book and the toxicology book. So I had to sprint off and get those books and then bring them to her facility, and she got checked for that, for being in compliance. So your hot water temperature is usually between 70 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Make sure that that is so. What I would do is take that white sellotape and just put it by all thermometers that the temperature in this home is to remain between 70 degrees to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. They will always test your water, so test it yourself. Anyway, you should have that piece of equipment that tests your water temperature. So they're gonna run your hot water, allow it to get to the highest temperature, put a thermometer on it and check the temperature. So your water temperature should be between 95 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I would also put that little piece of sellotape by my sinks just to keep my staff members reminded. If your temperature is above 120 degrees, your water temperature is out of compliance, you need to find a handyman to flush out the boiler and then have your temperature regulated. Usually I think inspectors need to see 2 complete bedrooms. Sometimes they'll say, you know, just make sure that you're following the dimensions of the bed frame. A twin bed, I believe, is 36 by 72 inches. You know, you can take a tape measure, measure it. Also measure the sizes of your room. You could buy the automated, you know, little pen that, you know, automatically measures the dimension of the rooms. Closets are not included. Don't fight with the inspector. Just, you know, measure it on your own, check back with your regulations, and then just make sure that if your room can accommodate 2, it can accommodate 2 people based on the law. Yeah, of course, your laundry baskets need to have a cover because sometimes you have soiled linens in there. You need to have a smoking sign outside, and there has to be a designated place for smoking. Not only do you need the sign, you need that little sand pit where they can, you know, put off their cigarettes. Sometimes they will ask for some kind of shade. Mine passed without that, especially in Arizona where it's so hot. Sometimes they might ask you to make the area shaded. So it depends on who's coming. Always have a pest control program. People forget this. It's one of the things that will be assessed. So make sure your pest control person comes in and you file the document, and you also indicate the regularity in which your pest control person is coming. Is it monthly or is it quarterly? Medications, always make sure, of course, your medications are in a locked area, and always have the sign, this is a medication area, personnel only, to be locked all the time. Oh yeah, this is it, your drug reference and toxicology reference guide. You can also have a notice that talks about the PDR, which is the electronic version of the drug reference guide. So make sure all of your staff members download it. I'm going to attach a link to the description. The policies and procedures is so comprehensive. I'm going to do policies and procedures in a separate video because it's just so comprehensive and it deserves its own video. So look out for that video. Lots of good things. I want to teach you about your policies and procedures so they pass in the first go. Always make sure you have a file too for your personnel. We're going to talk about that also in a separate video because personnel records deserve their own video. So look out for that video. And then, of course, you know, always make sure that you have gone through your posted signs and that the information on the posted signs is accurate, especially the information of the Bureau of Residential Licensing, you know, the Adult Protective Services, the Ombudsman, the local hospitals that are closest to you. You have your fire safety and emergency plan. Where would your residents evacuate? Let me see. Of course, one of the posted signs is your schedule. On your schedule, this is a part that people don't know about. On your work schedule, you have to have your on-call person. So you have to put in your registered nurse that's servicing your behavioral health home. As you have to put in all their details and the number as on-call, and maybe another staff member. So make sure you do that. That's a big ding ding. So make sure that, you know, on your work schedule, you'll write their on-call, you know, Jenny Smith, you know, your registered nurse and the phone number. We're going to talk about the facility form in another video, your quality management, this file here. This is a very big file and one of the most important files in a facility for you as an administrator and a behavioral health home owner. Mine is tabbed out, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So your quality management file is like superb and passes, and then you can keep very good records. What else about the inspection? So when an inspector comes into your home, they will take a seat. You're going to lay out on the table your policies and procedures. You're also going to lay out your personnel file, which includes your clinical supervisor's documents, and then 2 or 3 employees, complete documentation. And then you're also going to lay out your quality management file. And what else? Oh yeah, and 2 samples of your resident files. So 2 samples of your resident files, 2 employees, your clinical supervisor's file, and then your policies and procedures. So they will take the checklist, which they have. I think they have it on their little PDF machine or their iPad. I don't know what it is. And then they will go through all the policies, you know, from your content page. And then they're going to walk through, taking their time. No, they don't do that. I'm just kidding. And they're going to read through everything step by step by step as they're taking notes. Read through everything you've said. And inspectors have been and worked, especially if they're not new, they've done these policies for a long time. So they know them like the back of their hands. So they'll read through, and they're just notating what's missing. So if they tell you this is missing, just quickly crank it out. Make sure your printer has enough ink. Create the document, have it there for them. That's just the best way to do it. So you always need the cranker, the person who can create these documents quickly, and then the person who can run around to the stores. You know, that's your team of 2 to help you pass the inspection. Yeah, so they read, look through everything. It's good to tab things out. It's good to have a really nice table of contents. That way it's super easy and it's clear for them. So that's what I wanted to share with you about your inspection. And then they are going to stand up and they will inspect your rooms. And once they finish inspecting your rooms, when they finish looking at the posted signs and the overall environment in your group home, they're going to go outside. They'll look at your seated arrangement for your residents outside the house. They're going to look at your side gate. They're going to look at your smoking signage and make sure you have your little fire thing where they can put out their cigarettes. And that's how the inspection is done. Nothing to worry about when you're prepared. Meaning you self-audited yourself and you took your time and your documents are authentic. Please do not cook up documents for your initial inspection, because what happens if they discover that something about your employee records is fraudulent, that will get your potential license canceled. Once that happens, you can't use your name to open any other business. So just make sure that the information that you have in your personnel files is accurate. You know, the documents are authentic, because what you don't want is to be forwarded to the boards of appeal, meaning your license is denied because there's some information that you put there was inaccurate. They read so many of these things, they can smell out a fish in seconds. You know, this is the work we do. People read this document. So Don't put any documents that are not authentic in there. You never ever want to risk your name. You never ever want to risk your business. You always want to have the capacity to open, you know, a behavioral health group home wherever you go in whatever state. So don't make that mistake. So if you are well prepared, you're going to pass on the first try, which is what you want, because every day you don't have clients in there and you don't have your license, as days that money is going out of your pocket. So to help you prepare for your first inspection, you're welcome to join and enroll for my Behavioral Health Business Masterclass that will be taking place next weekend. You can go and enroll on my website, which is www.nkathakimathi.com. I have 3 payment options, which allows you to pay over a 12-month period from the starter package, the legacy package, and the empire builder. So depending on what level of attention you are seeking and knowledge, there are the 3 packages there, and they range from about $275 a month. Looking back, if I was to do this process all over again, I would have first paid for the education and then utilized or leveraged that education to prepare well, because when you prepare well, you save your money. Meaning you can get your license much faster than scrambling through this process and having that back and forth with the inspector, because after they come in the first time, their communication with you may not be that prompt. And that's you waiting for your license, that's you going back and forth with your information when there was a checklist. And if you just did it correctly, you could have passed the first time. So go ahead, you know, look at my website, look at my Behavioral Health Business Masterclass. I would love to have you join us so we can teach you how to prepare for your inspection. There's a whole wide curriculum of, you know, various things that have to do with opening of your behavioral health group home that you can look at. I also have the posted curriculum there. So go look at that and then enroll, sign up, and let me have the honor and the privilege of teaching you how to open your behavioral health group home successfully. I'll see you on the next video. I gotta get to that fly, and just, you know, look out on this channel. Oh, like it, subscribe, and we are going to be talking next about something easy like your quality management file, this one. So the next video I'll be talking about your quality management file, what needs to be in the file, what you need to prepare. So look out for that and subscribe to the channel so you know when that video drops. So let me catch that fly, but I'll see you soon.